I'm Lynn Packer with part 2 of my video op-ed about Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad, often referred to as OUR. Part 1 dealt with whether OUR is a scam. Part 2 deals with whether OUR is history in the making, goes deeper into the Sean Reyes factor, and lists allegations against OUR. First, I'll talk about the question, is the OUR flim-flam history in the making? Could Operation Underground Railroad become recognized as the most sweeping fraud in Utah history? Is Attorney General Sean Reyes a perpetrator or a prosecutor? Could an OUR scandal further cement Utah's reputation as being the fraud capital of the United States? These are samples of headlines over the years. Stock fraud capital. Utah, the fraud capital. Do we have a fraud law? Utah must get tough on con artists. Even more recently, this Deseret News headline, does Utah deserve the title fraud capital of the United States? The article concluded it does. Check out Attorney General Sean Reyes' website. He asks, is Utah the fraud capital of the United States? He says yes. Yes, we are. Then consider the unthinkable, that any attorney general who should be prosecuting major fraud is a participant in a major fraud. With Utah's reputation in flames as a fraud capital, an attorney general should be putting out the fire, not pouring gasoline on it. Instead, Sean Reyes is part of the problem, not the solution. Reyes' fight against human trafficking is his signature issue as Attorney General. His website says, Attorney General Sean D. Reyes has been a leader and an international voice in the fight against human trafficking. Reyes is a big part of the OUR fundraising machine, often appearing with Tim Ballard at donation appeal rallies. In late August this year, Reyes spoke at the Republican National Convention. A Utah newspaper summarized the appearance, saying, Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes used the stage to promote his signature issue, the fight against human trafficking, and lauded the Trump administration for making historic strides in combating it. Reyes' RNC speech is often referred to as his warrior spirit speech. He said he was a proud descendant of warriors. He said, my father demonstrated his warrior spirit over 50 years fighting a dictator in his homeland, the Philippines, barely escaping with his life. Then he compared Trump to his father by saying, President Donald Trump is a fierce warrior against human trafficking.
My father demonstrated his warrior spirit over 50 years ago, fighting a dictator in his homeland, the Philippines. Barely escaping with his life, he started anew in America. He lived the American dream, building businesses, a family, and seeing me become Utah's first minority statewide elected official. Today, I channel my warrior roots by battling human trafficking. I've been able to lead some of the largest trafficking prosecutions in America and traveled to foreign countries, working with law enforcement and NGOs to dismantle trafficking networks and rescue people from the most brutal conditions imaginable. Young girls and women sold into sex slavery. Young boys and men forced into labor servitude. President Donald Trump is a fierce warrior against human trafficking.
This photo shows Reyes and Ballard at one of many OUR fundraisers. Who could it be that calls these two guys idiots and calls Ballard an ego run amok? Who said those things? It's former FBI Special Agent Greg Rogers, who worked child sex trafficking cases for the FBI. He was a guest on the How to Heretic podcast. Rogers said human trafficking has become an industry. It's a very successful way to raise funds, and that Operation Underground Railroad is a very successful money-raising venture. He referred to Reyes' RNC warrior speech. He noted that Reyes raises an immense amount of money talking about human trafficking all the time. But Rogers said Reyes and Ballard speak nonsense. He said human trafficking is real, it's a terrible thing, but it's not happening in the ways these idiots are talking about. Rogers criticizes OUR's basic concept.
It's just crazy. It's a nonsensical way to approach the problem. And a bunch of private citizens in the United States can't run around the world with AR-15s and act like they're jumping out of planes and going into brothels. I mean, that's not a way to fix this. And if you really understood the problem, they would know that while you may have some success in taking these young children out of these brothels, you've helped those young children you took out that day, but they're replaced the following day. So you did nothing to solve the larger problem.
The FBI wouldn't work with OUR, Rogers said. He said, I actually set them up with a meeting in Thailand to meet with our assistant legal attaché there. Ballard came over babbling about having Navy SEALs drop into the country armed and hit places. Rogers made a quip about Sean Reyes' warrior speech at the RNC. Rogers was a little nervous. Reyes was going to hawk a dance and rap. The RNC didn't give Reyes enough time to dance and rap like he often does at OUR fundraisers. I will give him the time.
Ali, aka Cassius Clay. You want to take my title, best step away. Political pugilist, I don't play. You feeling lucky, punk? Come on in my day, cause I can rope a dope, give you hope, take your best hits. And when I'm standing there smiling, you know I'm legit. You'll be punched.
Who was the warrior in Sean Reyes' RNC speech? It was his father, Norberto Buddy Reyes, who died in March of this year. He was a Mormon. He worked part-time as an artist, and as a filmmaker, and as an Elvis impersonator.
Well, you may go to college, you may go to school, you may love a pink Cadillac, but don't you think nobody in school? Oh, baby, come back, oh, baby, go. Come back, oh, baby, go. Come back.
But Buddy Reyes' main job for 35 years was multi-level marketing, MLM. It's a business that so many Mormons engage in. He sold and would have recruited a downline to sell door-to-door National Safety Associates, NSA products. They started off with home fire alarms, then moved to water and air filters, and then finally sold Juice Plus dietary supplements. NSA over time was hit with a barrage of lawsuits claiming it was a pyramid scheme and that his salespeople made false claims. Indeed, Sean Reyes said his father would pray on his knees for hours over his endless legal struggles. I wanted to protect my dad, Reyes said. I thought I'd become a lawyer and stand up against the guys persecuting him. I wonder if Sean Reyes ever considered if any one of the lawsuits against his father was legitimate. Eventually, Buddy Reyes formed his own MLM. It was the Mormon-centric Glowing Heart Society Foundation. Buddy Reyes claimed his MLM was different, that it was really not an MLM.
Before I share with you what it is, let me first tell you what it is not. That way we won't have any misunderstanding. Our program is not, and I repeat, is not network marketing or MLM. It's absolutely different. Our system generates wealth through selflessness and compassionate service. Its emphasis is on an extraordinary and much needed self-empowering education with a humanitarian mission.
Through his MLM, Buddy Reyes marketed a disease cure-all named Geosol. It was a homeopathic preparation consisting of trace amounts of silver in water, retailing for $16 for an 8-ounce bottle. It was similar to other colloidal silver products on the market. It really attacks all kinds of diseases, Reyes said. It's better than any antibiotics there are because this one kills both bacteria and viruses. Colloidal silver cures have long been associated with ultra-conservative Mormons and with Mormon-related multi-level marketing schemes. And by the way, colloidal silver products are legal in the United States, but making false curative claims about them is not. Back to Sean Reyes' warrior speech where he likened Trump to his father, and there were similarities. Both were idolized by Sean Reyes. Both promoted fake universities. Both promoted quack disease cures and nutritional supplement ventures. Both were involved with multi-level marketing schemes, and both were very vocal activist opponents of human trafficking. Buddy Reyes, like his son Sean, claimed child kidnapping is going on in Utah. When I interviewed Buddy in 2016, and I did the interview in the state capitol rotunda, he told me Sean gave him a badge and appointed him an agent for the Utah AG's office. He said Sean sent Buddy on a mission to rescue 2 Utah girls who had purportedly been kidnapped and transported to a remote mountainous region in the Philippines for organ harvesting. Reyes said Mormon girls command more money for their cleaner kidneys because they don't smoke or drink. He said the 2 kidnapped girls had been smuggled to the Philippines to the remote area. But he said he created a strike force, set up a command center, and gathered intelligence. He said he took his team up the mountain, being led by pygmies armed with poison arrows. He said they encountered a rapid-fire machine gun. The bullets were zinging past them. We were armed to the teeth with submachine guns, M1 rifles, but I only had a .45 caliber pistol because I was leading, Reyes said. But instead of returning fire, he said he led his team in prayer. I told them, I don't care what religion you are, I'm going to pray, and you pray with me. We're going up there with angels surrounding us. Nobody is going to be killed. Try not to kill anybody. Our goal is to save the teenage girls. He said no one was killed, and they rescued 63 body part slaves. Besides rescuing body part slaves, Reyes said he also fought against evil forces and sinister bacteria. Here's what he posted on his Facebook page. We got a very strong intel that a major attack on Christians will be done on Christmas Day, where they will be beheaded in front of movie cameras beamed worldwide to embarrass the USA and to recruit more terrorists. Here's another one. There's also a deadly bacteria that has no cure, released by a neighbor country via their artificial plastic rice to depopulate the Philippines by 2 million people. Those who have ears, listen. Speaking of machine guns, a news report said Sean Reyes keeps a machine gun in the corner of his Capitol building office. A real machine gun whose bullets are tucked away in an office safe, the article said. Reyes says, we've made this a secure place, but if we ever had to protect ourselves, and if the Hawaiian and Filipino weapons aren't sufficient, he's referring to other weapons in his office, then I've got real firepower. He's laughing, but he's serious, the reporter wrote. Reyes also has a badge and carries a concealed weapon. After all, Reyes bills himself as an NRA candidate. Utah's major news outlets have given passes to Reyes and OUR. Shouldn't even call them news outlets anymore. They're more like PR arms for Reyes and OUR. These are examples of typical purported unvetted facts like Channel 2. There's 100,000 children in the United States forced into the commercial sex trade. Fox 13, thousands of kids are being smuggled into the U.S. every year, forced into sexual slavery, labor slavery. KSL, there are 2 million of these kids being exploited sexually. The Trib, OUR Aftercare Director Jessica Mass said the organization is also committed to taking care of survivors and following up with them for the rest of their lives. Channel 4, there are more than 2 million child sex slaves worldwide. The Deseret News, Operation Underground Railroad merged with the Elizabeth Smart Foundation earlier this year. Almost all major media reported about the purported merger. The collapse of Utah journalism is ongoing and the bottom is not even in sight. News reporting on Operation Underground Railroad has been a travesty. Most of the reporting over the past 7 years has been done with no regard to truth-seeking and fact-checking. Who knows how many millions of donated dollars resulted from bootlicking journalism? Utah media have engaged in what is referred to derisively as stenographic journalism, that is, taking down and reporting only what Reyes and Ballard say in speeches and put in press releases. As an example, the supposed merger between the Elizabeth Smart Foundation and OUR. It was highly publicized. The merger was used to solicit donations. Elizabeth Smart was put on the board of governors, and her father, Ed Smart, was named director for prevention and rehabilitation. Reyes was quick to exploit Elizabeth Smart's fame as a kidnap victim. Here's the truth. A merger never took place. Ed and Elizabeth Smart broke off the relationship. Ed Smart left in disgust, dissatisfied with how OUR was actually handling the aftercare of purported rescued child sex slaves. Utah's mainstream press did not report on the breakup or explore why the merger it reported never happened. Here's another example. The media's failure to vet OUR statistics. A KUTV report said, according to a press release, human and child sex trafficking is one of the fastest growing and most profitable crimes found throughout the United States. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime reports there are more than 20 million people currently enslaved in human trafficking worldwide, 2 million of them being children. There's the report. They're saying it said 20 million current trafficking slaves, 2 million children. That's what they say. Read this again. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime reports there are more than 20 million people currently enslaved in human trafficking worldwide, 2 million of them being children. Is that true? Here's what the report actually says, and it includes a graph. All you have to do is read it. It says in 2016, a peak of more than 24,000 detected victims was recorded. There is no mention of 20 million currently enslaved, or 2 million of them being children. It's 24,000 versus 20 million. OUR inflates the number more than 800 times. OUR has a legal duty to document its claims. It didn't. Reporters are free to fact-check the claims. They didn't. So I did. I called Vienna, Austria. I left a message and also emailed the UN's research expert on trafficking in persons, Fabrizio Sirica. He's the one that wrote the report. He responded via email saying he would get back with a detailed response, but in the meantime, he said many things of what you asked clarifications for are indeed not accurate information that keep on being reiterated. That indicates he's aware people out there are citing unproven statistics. The last section of my op-ed lists alleged improper and illegal conduct. The items are unproven. They could be true, but some or all could originate from former employees making false accusations. Why is most of the list unvetted? OUR refuses to comment on any item on the list. OUR's major corporate sponsor, doTERRA, won't do an interview. Most former OUR employees won't talk. Ballard required employees and volunteers to sign non-disclosure agreements. Several I contacted fear Ballard's wrath if they talk. That said, here's the list of unproven claims. Some donor money was used to pay for first-class flights and 5-star hotel rooms. Some jump team members were drunk and on drugs while on raids. Some jump team members possessed and traded child pornography. Family members hired by Ballard misappropriated donor funds. Donor funds were used to pay for the honeymoon of a jump team member. Donor funds were used to pay for Ballard's personal trainer. Some purported child sex slaves were never trafficked prior to OUR running its sex party stings. Some jump team members engaged in sexual acts with purported child sex slave victims. An OUR volunteer was sexually assaulted while on a jump. On this note, one volunteer did tell me she was fondled by an OUR operative during a mission. OUR funnels some donor money through its for-profit arms entity, Deacon Incorporated, and that OUR arms entity purchased illegal black market guns and ammunition. OUR takes credit for some operations not conducted by OUR itself. In this note, I don't see anything wrong if OUR funded that particular op. A Ballard jump team member who used to work with him in Homeland Security claims Ballard falsified his past experience as a government agent, and some donors have pulled out because of suspected bad conduct. Here's what OUR should do to put all allegations to rest. Be fully transparent, answer all questions. Go beyond minimum Form 990 disclosure requirements. Disclose in detail all donations and expenditures. Provide all director meeting minutes. Release records associated with subsidiary organizations Nazarene and Deacon. Fully document all fundraising pitches. Provide the names and current status of all arrested traffickers and the names and current status of all rescued sex and labor slaves, and release all employees and volunteers from their non-disclosure agreements.